Part 29. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 281. Chapter 281. In fact, Madara has not given up on paying attention to the outstanding youngsters of the Uchiha clan since he failed to lure Nakoki on the eastern coast of the Fire Country last time. His initial observation target was a Uchiha boy who was active near the Yuno country battle line, which was relatively close to the eastern coast. In the team led by Yellow Flash Namikaze Minato, Uchiha Obito, who is a Chunin. The rest of the Uchiha clan are all concentrated on the battlefield with sand hidden, and it is inconvenient for Madara to observe for a long time. Only Obito, a special guy, is an exception. But although Obito is a Chunin, he has not yet opened Sharingan. Maybe it's because he cooperated with his teammates too tacitly, and the battle went too smoothly. According to Ju's observations, as the captain, Minato Namikaze will not talk about it. Yellow Flash Namikaze Minato's illustrious reputation made him the same as Grand Master Mito Mongo and Konoha Hakuto Heitake Sakumo, the legendary enemy ninjas who run when they see it, not a mission. Failed Konoha ninja. It's just that those who can run away in front of these three people, unless they have no intention of killing people. Another boy with white hair and a mask is the son of White Fang Konoha, the insanely talented Heitake Kakashi. In terms of strength, there is nothing wrong with saying that he is a Jounin. He even independently developed an A-level thunder escape ninjutsu, which can be done by ordinary Chunin. In fact, what has never been detected is that Kakashi has already been recommended as a Jounin by Minato because of his strong strength and the development of the A-level thunder dun Chidori. It's just because Konoha's war went well, and there is no need to temporarily promote Jounin during the war, so these will be counted together when the battle is counted after the war. And although it seems that Obito Uchiha and the genius Kakashi always like to complain about each other and even quarrel, but when they really fight, it can be seen that they really have a rare tacit understanding. Not to mention, their other companion is an extremely rare combat medical ninja. This makes it easy for them to break through the difficulties faced by their team. Until Konoha's army swept the Union invasion force with thunder, Madara did not find a situation that could bring great excitement to Uchiha Obito. And Uchiha Obito who has not turned on Sharingan, it is impossible to distort the three views by mere speaking skills. In his heart, there is no darkness yet. Therefore, Madara still confessed, when going to the country of Kawa, pay attention to the situation of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Shisui is a genius no less than Heitake Kakashi. As soon as he found Shisui, he knew that this was Madara's perfect goal. Look directly at the darkness in your heart. Shisui frowned. No matter how it sounds, it doesn't sound like a good word. Are you really an enemy? Any Uchiha who has opened Sharingan will have darkness in his heart. The more pure and kind-hearted, the more so. Absolutely ignoring Shisui's ready-to-go attack posture, he used mouth escape on his own. And with the strengthening of the pupil power, Sharingan will evolve from a single hook jade to a three-hook jade, but this is a very long process, and it depends on certain aptitude. And you, Uchiha Shisui, at such a young age, you have achieved a lot of achievements that no Uchiha clan could possibly have in their lifetime, not only because you are really a genius, but also because of. Ju looked at Shisui with an expression of disbelief, and continued. It's because the darkness in your heart is bigger and deeper than that of ordinary Uchiha people. You should know that Sharingan is the pupil that reflects the soul. The stronger the darkness in your heart, the stronger the power of the pupil. This is also the fundamental reason why you can have the three-pointed jade so quickly. Stop talking nonsense. Shisui saw sweat on his forehead, and although Heiji's mouth was not very good, Shisui was still young and more easily affected. In addition, the war is still not over, and the tragic situation of teammates and relatives emerges in front of his eyes. For a while, Shisui can't even be sure whether what Ju said is true or not. After possessing the Sanguya Sharingan, Shisui was taught various secret techniques of Sharingan by the clan, but he felt that, unlike what he said at this time, maybe. Not without reason. Ken. I'm not talking nonsense. Regarding the research on Sherinan, there may be no one in this world who can surpass me, the one behind me. Ju shrugged, his tone was still as calm as the beginning. Sharingan's pupil power will be greatly strengthened by the power of hatred. When your friends, comrades, or even relatives are injured or die, do you, really have no hatred? Having experienced such a cruel war, you should know that sometimes, it takes more courage to live than to die. Thinking back to Ze Madara's words, he thought about it for a while, then nodded. So, look into your inner darkness and use it to make yourself stronger. We are looking for a genius like you to use the power of hatred and darkness to recreate a world. A world where there is only peace and only love. In this way, all the original regrets can be made up, and all the pain will no longer exist. Shisui opened his mouth wide. Although he is not very old, Zishui is still very aware of the unbelievable reality that the weird guy opposite said. However, what Zishui is most proficient at, besides the instant body technique, is the illusion technique. The top illusion power can rewrite reality. Uchiha Shisui, who has 3 round eyes and is proficient in illusion, as a new genius, is allowed to touch one of the top illusions in the clan. One of the ultimate eye art, a forbidden art that can rewrite illusion and reality, is an Agya. Therefore, Zishui knows that illusion is really possible to do what the guy on the other side said. But that should be incredibly difficult. You understand, right? I'm not lying. Absolutely reached out to Zishui. Come on, come with me, and you can learn the truth of the world. This ninja world is not worth nostalgia at all. He was absolutely surprised to find that his lower body was frozen by a thick layer of ice. You. Master Wu. The icy cold made Zishui, who was sweating profusely, awake instantly. When he turned his head, he saw Wu's mirror image standing behind him holding a staff. Really, just as one child was settled, the other was almost bewitched by you. After Wu looked at the surprise at the beginning coldly, he regained his composure. The war is not over yet. Originally, I didn't want to have anything to do with you, but since I saw it, why don't I leave something before leaving? The projection of a luneth is clamoring frantically. That's the guy. He's a special guy, more special than any native creature I've seen before. Great Mage Mito Gate Satoru. Ju tilted his head, somewhat puzzled. You know me? However, you seem to be a shadow clone now. What a special clone. Ju's strength is not very good, and his vision is not bad. He can see that the real enlightenment body cannot only have this level of ice escape. It's a pity, it only takes a little time to succeed. Tell the guy behind you, since you choose to stay underground, never come out. Wu knew that with only one avatar that consumed too much mana, at most it could destroy the white part of Ju. Heiju wanted to escape, but he couldn't stop him. But now, protecting the water is the first priority. Since you appear here, many strange phenomena in the war can be explained. Enlightenment took a deep look at Baiju, and grabbed Zishui, who was still in a daze, with one hand. Sooner or later we have to settle this account. Shua. The teleportation technique was activated, and Wu and Shisui disappeared in front of Ju. Why would he know? Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 282. Chapter 282 The Sincerity of Allies. Ally, this place is no longer safe. Being intervened by Wu Heng and taking Uchiha Shisui away, he can only go to Kawa no Kokoni to see Beirehu according to the original plan. How about the research on the fusion secret technique? There is still only one head exposed. In fact, he was still a little scared. When he showed up to tempt Zishui before, he was directly frozen by Wu. If it was Wu's body, it would be hard to say whether he could escape or not. Thinking of Wu's Bingdun's strength, Ju tilted his head. Belial in front of him couldn't hide his pride. Could it be that you have merged Wood Dun and Ice Dun? He, of course, after the theory matures, there is no danger at all in merging the two blood inheritance boundaries. Belial's appearance is still very eye-catching. After fusing two powerful blood successor limits, his whole mental state has changed. In the past, I always unconsciously brought some self-pity, and Hay's temperament gradually disappeared, replaced by self-confidence. Using the fusion secret technique, I can even eliminate the erosiveness of the cells between the columns, which neither Orochimaru nor his disciples have done. Besides, I also have the ice escape blood successor limit like Mitam and Satoru. Even if Mudun's Shenshu and Bingdun's Wu join forces, it can't compare to me who has two blood successors at the same time. Seeing Belial's overconfident appearance, after thinking about it for a while, I still feel that I should hit him a little bit. Shenshu not only possesses Mutun, but his own Qianshao and Maelstrom bloodlines have been basically fully developed. He is a difficult character to deal with on the eastern coastal battlefield. As for Mito Satoru, not only did he comprehend the special sage mode on his own, but he also created a special ninjutsu system called Arcane, which is even as powerful as the elimination of blood successors. Bailu's complexion gradually became ugly. Although he was doing research in the laboratory all day long, the Third Ninja World War was so lively outside, how could he not know the news of the war at all? The great master Mito Mongo singled out the third generation of Tukage Onaki, and together with the Akatsuki organization of the Rain Country, forced Onaki, the fourth generation of Kazekage Raza, the puppet master Cho, Hitoririhan, and Lao Zi to fight against each other. The powerful ninja couldn't advance an inch, and had to admit the neutral status of the Kingdom of Rain. These things have been spread throughout the ninja world, and Belial is naturally very clear. He opened his mouth to defend himself, but he continued to speak expressionlessly. And I'm afraid you don't know, Konoha has a powerful time-space ninjutsu that can transmit a large number of troops. They have concentrated their superior forces and wiped out the invading forces of 3 countries. Soon, they will settle with Sand Hidden. That's why, as an ally, I'm here to greet you. This place is very dangerous now. Maybe Konoha will soon penetrate the entire Sichuan kingdom and wipe out Sand Hidden's troops. What did you say? Belial was really shocked this time. You've never heard of such a thing, have you? Even the second Hokage's flying Raijin Jutsu can't do it. A sense of crisis rose, and Belial really realized that the country of Kawa no longer could stay. At the very least, wait until the limelight has passed. Damn, Konoha is so strong, it's overwhelming. Belial's eyes flashed a stern look, and his heart became more and more unwilling and jealous. However, if my fusion secret technique can be completed, it will not be a problem to achieve immortality, unify the 5 major kingdoms, and dominate the ninja world. Just as he was secretly getting angry, he heard another question. By the way, apart from the fusion of secret techniques, how is the research on the reincarnation of the dirty soil? Reincarnation of the dirt. Belial was taken aback for a moment, looked at Ju, raised his eyebrows. You care so much about this technique, is it because someone important is going to be reincarnated? That's right. Reincarnation of the dirty earth is indeed a genius-like idea. I have to say that the second generation of Hokage Senshou Banjian is really a genius. Belial pondered for a moment, although he was wary of the allies represented by Absolute, but his foundation was the fusion secret technique. At the beginning, he was very eager to get such a thing as reincarnation in the dirty soil, but after careful study, to be honest, he looked down on it a bit. The fusion secret technique can not only fuse the blood successor boundary, but also fuse the bodies of psychic beasts and ninjas. It can even be said that the fusion of blood succession boundary is a bonus of this fusion. Moreover, through the fusion secret technique, Belial can fuse other targets with each other, and cooperate with the puppet spell to create powerful combined psychic beasts and subordinates. In comparison, the technique of reincarnation in dirty soil does not mean much to him. Because the dead reincarnated from the filth, it is basically impossible to have all the strength and self-will in life. If you control them with spells to annihilate their will, their strength will be even worse. This is where Baliahu felt that the reincarnation of the filthy soil was useless. It is useless to revive the weak, and the resurrection of the strong may not be able to control it. Moreover, after the reincarnation of the dirty soil is successful, what really works is the soul of the deceased, and the fusion secret technique that fuses the target's body, completely in two directions. As for improving the dirt reincarnation and fusion secrets, so that souls can also be fused. It's not like Baliahu didn't think about it that way. But as a rational researcher, he understands very well that even if his body is fused with other blood inheritance boundaries, he is still himself. And if the soul merges with other souls, are you still yourself? The reason why Baliahu worked hard to study the reincarnation of the unclean soil was because of its high-speed chakra recovery effect. Although he has no clue yet, he is not in a hurry. The conditions for the reincarnation of the dirty soil are relatively harsh, and the requirements for sacrifices are very strict. Baliahu has already started packing up his things and preparing to transfer. He took out a scroll and threw it to Ju. This is my improved reincarnation of the unholy earth. I can improve the quality of the sacrifice by fusing part of the principles of the secret technique. However, in order to pursue stability, it is best to fuse sacrifices with similar qualities. The higher the quality of the sacrifice used as the container for the soul of the deceased, the stronger the strength of the caster and the more proficient in this technique. The higher the strength limit given by the caster when resurrecting the dead, the closer the resurrected dead will be to the strength of the dead. Absolutely caught the scroll, opened it and looked at it briefly, and couldn't help admiring. It's really a perfect technique. It is said that the resurrected dead are equivalent to having an immortal body, and there are almost infinite chakras. Basically, that's the case, but chakras' recovery speed is very fast, not inexhaustible. Baliahu replied casually. Moreover, if the resurrected ones are not your friends or even enemies, if you want to control them to follow orders, you will not only need to consume energy, but also greatly affect the strength of the dead due to the loss of consciousness. Immortality and chakra recover at a high speed, but there is more error tolerance. Before you resurrect the dead, you should think clearly. If the resurrected person has a strong will, there is a possibility that the soul will leave the body. So I suggest that if you revive the strong, it is better to annihilate their consciousness. This is indeed a relatively embarrassing defect. Ju put away the scroll. He naturally understood that these flaws of the reincarnation of the dirty soil are not a problem at all for them who use it as a backup. It seems that you still need a little time, then I will come back tomorrow and take you to our base. There, you don't have to worry about being affected. Oh. Mysterious ally, are you finally willing to show up? Don't be too surprised. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 283. Chapter 283. What kind of agent do you want? When Baliahu was packing up his things and preparing to evacuate, Ju had already returned to Uchiha Madara's side at the fastest speed. Uchiha Shisui, what a pity. Madara frowned after listening to the report, and remembered the Uchiha Obito he had observed before. There is no comparison at all. According to Ju's narrative, Obito is nothing compared to Shisui's talent. On this point, Ju's judgment is not wrong. The young Shisui is indeed a very perfect target. In addition to being too young, I haven't had a lot of exposure to the dangers and darkness of the world. In fact, if Madara had to choose, he would still choose Uchiha Obito instead of Uchiha Shisui. Age is one aspect, And another important reason is that for Uchiha Shisui, his relatives and bonds are in Konoha. Their existence helped Shisui open the Sanguya Sharingan, but that was all. Shisui, who has the Sanguya Sharingan, his heart is still not eroded by darkness, but maintains a childlike innocence. Although this is rare among the Uchiha clan, it does exist. And Uchiha Obito, his bond, is by his side. Through this period of observation, Madara can be sure that his two teammates are his most important bonds. And Uchiha Obito is really kind, optimistic and naive, not like the Uchiha people at all. Such young people are in the stage where their half-baked three views are not yet stable, and they have the unique stubbornness and rebellion of young people, so they are more ideal targets for manipulation. However, Satoru's involvement in Shisui reminded Madara of the last time when he faced Nawaki in person. "Mitaman Satoru, it's you again." Madara feels that he has no way to deal with this great mage who is most likely to become Hokage among the younger generation, but does not want to become Hokage at all. If it weren't for the insane portal of the other party, the Third Ninja World War would never be what it is now. On the tragic battlefield, Madara would have had more opportunities. He has even prepared a perfect trap, and is planning to lure his fancy target step by step. Obito Uchiha, and his team, got caught in it. If the plan is successful, Obito is very likely to directly open Sharingan, and is truly qualified to become Madara's agent. Madara has even prepared for the follow-up plan. Using the two bonds around him, he is almost completely sure that Obito's heart will be completely soaked in darkness. However, before all this could be carried out, he was caught off guard by Wu's infinite portal. In the face of the unreasonable force of the army, what kind of conspiracy and trap will be useful? The pretentious Uchiha Madara, there is nothing he can do about the situation. To directly seduce Mito Manto? It's not that Madara has never thought about it, but a rope tree is so difficult to deal with, let alone this guy who has his own ideas at first sight. That power? He doesn't even care about Hokage. Strength. The current Madara fights against him, not to mention that he will die, at least he is not sure that he can beat him. And how old is he? How strong will it be in a few years? Knowledge. He. Fetters. He is not a member of the Uchiha tribe, even if Nawaki and the others are killed, Madara is not sure what will happen to that guy. Besides, that kind of extremely assertive guy is basically impossible to cooperate with someone like Madara. Madara himself understands this very well. Moreover, according to Ju, the other party seems to know Ju, and also knows that there is his own existence behind Ju. What a mysterious guy, Mito Mongo, you're getting me more and more interested. Fortunately, I have prepared more than one backhand. The scroll in Madarigo's hand. This is an improved version of Dirty Earth reincarnation from Beirehua. Although you don't need it now, but, absolutely, you should practice this technique from now on. Madara no longer thinks about the agent and throws the scroll to Ju. It seems that I still need to do it myself. Madara-sama, although reincarnation is a good option, but if you want to become Ten Tails Jinchuriki, you must be alive. Ju took the scroll and tilted his head. Are you planning to persuade Nagato in person in the form of dirt? Nagato is not in a hurry, even if it is forced in the end, you can. After all, if I have the strength close to the heyday, I don't need to use intrigue for many things. Madara waved her hands somewhat disinterestedly. I should have woken up a long time ago, from the beginning to the end, strong strength is the basis for everything. Looking for a representative, is there anything more reliable than doing it myself? And, maybe now, there is a better way. You mean? Well, that's it, but Nagato can't just do nothing. You sneaked into Akatsuki in the past and approached Nagato secretly. Now that they have mastered the Land of Rain, if they use this as a cover to collect the tailed beast, it should go much smoother. Yes, Madara-sama, but the land of rain is now a neutral country. Will Nagato really agree to our cooperation? After thinking about it for a while, he asked. Besides, Akatsuki has an unusual relationship with that great master. If I get in touch with them, Mito Monsato will definitely know about it. Don't contact Nagato for now. Madara narrowed his eyes slightly, revealing a scarlet light. Mitaman Satoru is an unstable factor. So far, we don't know that he knows our existence. It's bad, the feeling of being out of control, it's bad. Based on his achievements, it is impossible for him not to notice Nagato's abnormality. Maybe he has discovered the reincarnation eye long ago, but why is he indifferent? When Wu and Gillette also taught Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan, they already knew it, and Madara naturally did the same. But at that time, Jiraiya also completely attracted Madara's attention. Thinking back now, Madara is a little belated. Wu actually intervened in one of his earliest chess pieces. Try to find out what this Grand Master knows, what is his attitude towards Nagato, and what is his attitude towards the Eye of Reincarnation. Madara thought for a moment, then gave an absolute order. What we know about him is always superficial. This time, you pretended to be someone else, sneaked into Akatsuki, mainly to inquire about information. This is much easier than mixing in Konoha. It's impossible for Mitaman Satoru not to be in contact with Akatsuki. Since he doesn't want to be Hokage, once a new Hokage is created, his position will inevitably become more delicate. Apart from representing Konoha, he works so hard to promote the Kingdom of Rain to become a neutral country. Now it seems that he must have his own purpose. A confident smile appeared on his old face. Let's see what he wants to do, and then, when the time is right, let's settle the score. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 284. Chapter 284. The war is over. It was just dawn. But in the heart of Logosha, the fourth generation of Kazekage, who was full of scars, this new rising sun did not bring him new hope. On the contrary, he mercilessly smashed his few persistences to pieces. With a sigh, Uchiha Fugaku, who was fighting him, silently retreated to the Konoha camp. He was also covered with large and small injuries, and his chakra was basically exhausted. On the other side, Cho and Scorpion, grandparents and grandchildren, ignored the almost fatal injuries on their bodies, and watched Hatake Sakumo, who was also struggling to support, return to the Konoha camp with hatred and unwillingness in his eyes. Although there was no winner or loser in this battle of revenge, they knew that they had lost now. A huge portal suddenly opened behind Konoha's line of defense. Behind the portal, which was even comparable in size to the main entrance of Konoha Hidden Village, was an elite ninja troop wearing a Konoha forward guard. Konoha Sunin Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade stepped out of the portal together. The moment they saw the appearance of the three of them, all the high-level officials of Sand Hidden understood. That's all for now. Although they don't understand what the huge portal is, and the news of the destruction of the other three kingdoms' armies has not yet arrived, the senior executives of Saiyan are very clear about what Konoha Sunin's original mission is. After Konoha Sunin appeared, he just took a deep look at Logosha, and then went directly to the battlefield between Sand Shrine Crane and War Mecha. Three huge psychic beasts descended from the sky, and together with the Sunin, who were fully engaged in battle, they suppressed the furious Shuhi to death. And then, Yellow Flash Namikaze Minato, Mori no Senjun Awake, and even the Jonin, who were originally located in the other three major battlefields in the intelligence, all appeared here through the portal. The Archmage. Behind the portal, Satoru, holding Ailans, bathed in the radiance of arcane magic, is like a god in the eyes of all the Sand Hidden ninjas. So that's it, this is Konoha's ability to defend against the four great powers at the same time. No, it should be the secret weapon to defeat the four great powers now. Logosha covered her face with her hands in pain. This kind of foul-like war-level spell was obviously not so easy to prepare. It turns out that Konoha has been delaying time all this time. 4 generations of Kazekage, when Sand Hidden Village was raided by Yun Hidden Village, we Konoha didn't take advantage of the fire. But when we were attacked on 3 sides, you took the initiative to break the armistice agreement and sent troops to us. As the commander of the defense line, Uchiha Fugaku announced the order from the 3rd Hokage in a deep voice. Konoha doesn't want to cause more killing and hatred. Admit defeat to us, and then retreat. We can also leave it to you to handle the crane. Let the 3rd Ninja War end where it began. Hee, it's really a benevolent decision, the 3rd Hokage. Having looked at Konoha's elite jonin one by one with a complicated face, Luo Sha had to admit. Right here, there are at least 6 or 7 Konoha ninjas who are comparable in fighting power to him. Konoha White Fang. Just as Luo Sha opened his mouth, he was interrupted by an angry roar. The young scorpion was panting heavily. He appeared from the huge portal, and kept staring at Sakumo Hatake, who was retreating decisively. Our battle is not over yet. Enough. Luo Sha's pent-up anger instantly found a target to vent. You traitor! If it weren't for you, if you hadn't killed the teacher, there would be no such cruel war. 4th generation. Advisor. Find out where you stand. Luo Sha's cold voice made Joe unable to speak anymore. He, ha 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 ha. Scorpion's hysterical laughter spread throughout the battlefield, making Luo Sha's complexion even more ugly. Traitor! Master Kazekage, do you really think I care about this weak Saiyan village? Stupid higher UPS, including the old woman. It is your wrong decision-making, greed, and civil strife that exposed the weaknesses of Hidden Sand Village. Your disgusting faces are disgusting. Taking a deep breath, Scorpion ignored the dark-faced Luo Sha, and turned to the silent Hatake Sakumo. Konoha, I will not give up as long as you are still alive. I will kill you with my own hands one day to avenge my parents. I accept your challenge at any time, but please do it to me and don't hurt others. Hatake Sakumo shook his head lightly. It seems that this grievance cannot be resolved. This is one of the unsolvable problems left by the war. Maybe I'm not qualified to persuade you to give up hatred, but I still want to say, young man, you have a bright future, don't be blinded by hatred. There are people who love you in this world, and there are people who you love. War creates a monster like hatred. Even if one day you succeed in killing me and avenge yourself, I hope you will not be swallowed by it. Taking a complicated look at Sakumo Hatake, who looked serious, Scorpion took one last look at Grandma Cho, who looked pained, and turned to leave. 4th generation, you can also come and kill me, but I will not show mercy. You. Luo Sha gritted her teeth, restraining the urge to order the Scorpion to be hunted down. At a time like this, even if Scorpion killed his teacher Sandai Kazekage, it would be just a small character. The Konoha army on the opposite side is the key point. What happened to the other 3 countries, their armies? Uchiha Fugaku turned his head slightly, Namikaze Minato nodded and stepped forward. In the war against Wuian village on the eastern coast, the 3rd Mizukage of the water country was seriously injured and fled, and the rest of the troops were wiped out. Namikaze Minato, who usually has a gentle smile on his face, said this with a calm and indifferent face. In the battle against Union village, Union's new generation of team was seriously injured and escaped, and the rest of the troops were all wiped out. In the war against Iwagakure village, the 3 generations of Tsuchikage Onoki ignored our warning, so their forces entrenched in the Kusanagi country have been completely wiped out. In addition, during this period of time, you should also know that Union village raised an army and besieged the 3rd generation of Lei Yingei, who led the invasion. At the same time as we wiped out the army of Union village, news came. Taking a deep look at Luo Sha, whose face was cloudy and uncertain, Minato paused, and continued. 3 generations of Lei Yingei have died in battle. Not surprisingly, the news will soon spread throughout the ninja world. Logosha tightly clenched his fists. Regarding the ending of the third Raikage who attacked Hidden Sand Village and took the initiative to provoke the Fourth Ninja World War, Logosha had mixed feelings. In the name of Hidden Sand Village, the fourth Kazekage, I surrender to Konoha. After a long time, Logosha finally made a difficult decision. He knew very well that Konoha set up this lineup. If he didn't do what the third Hokage hoped, all the sand ninjas including him, Kage, would die on this battlefield. Konoha can do it, and it can do it. In the final analysis, they, Cheyenne Village, are also traitors. The Third Ninja War is over. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 285. Chapter 285, Naruto Alternate Plan. The Third Ninja War came to an end with the surrender of Hidden Sand Village. Moreover, it is very rare that there will be basically no aftermath of the war in this war. 4 against 1, Konoha Hidden Village, faced with enemies from all sides, resisted the enemy from outside the country with a tough stance, and at the last moment, swept the battlefield with its superior force. The Shikoku were used to attack the Fire Nation's forces, and Konoha mercilessly annihilated them directly. Different from the quagmire of war where blunt knives cut flesh, Konoha's swift blow this time caused the inheritance of ninja power in various countries to varying degrees. Among them, the country of water is the most serious. Secondly, it is Union Village, which actively provoked the war and tried to gain benefits with a tough stance. Not only when Konoha kicked the iron plate, but also when the strategy shifted, the life of the third generation of Raikage was lost. In this regard, although the new fourth generation of Lei Yingei had to admit defeat and give up the war, in private, he put most of his hatred on Konoha. According to the plan of the third generation of Raikage, it is impossible for Onoji to return to help so quickly. But Satoru didn't drag Onaki as he expected, and didn't even pursue the garrison of the Kingdom of Grass at all. This kind of laissez-faire attitude allowed Onoki to shrink his troops to the country of grass, leaving Tujinzuri to sit in charge. He himself quickly flew back to help, mobilizing the remaining army to surround and kill the 3 generations of Raikage. Although the 3 generations of Raikage's hard work saved more than half of Union Village's troops who invaded the Land of Earth, but Konoha's surprise attack with concentrated forces wiped out all the troops they deployed against the Land of Fire. If it wasn't for the Konoha army's rush and the desperate protection of the subordinates, even Kiribi would have used the tailed beast. The current 4th generation of Raikage will also die on the border of the Land of Fire. In the Land of Earth, Onaki besieged and killed the 3 generations of Raikage with huge losses, and at the same time, the ninjas of Iwagaku in the Land of Grass were also wiped out. Even the 2 Jinchuriki, Lao Zi and Han, were seriously injured by Sunin and Minato. If it weren't for the special nature of the tailed beast, the 2 of them would surely die. Keeping them is also a condition for forcing Onoki to admit defeat to Konoha. Half of the army was completely annihilated, and Onoji could no longer give up the 2 Jinchurikis, so he had to admit defeat. As for Sand Hidden Village, originally, Cheyenne Village, which has experienced civil strife, is already the weakest of the 5 hidden villages. Up to now, except for Konoha, the average level of the other 4 countries is surprisingly not much different. If it's worse, it's about the same. Therefore, there is no need to continue to weaken the Hidden Sand Village, otherwise, it is difficult to guarantee that any country will start a new round of war against the Hidden Sand Village in order to restore its strength. As the Third Ninja War came to an end, Konoha replaced the 4 defense lines with conventional defense forces. With Satoru's full version of the portal, troop mobilization is no longer a problem for Konoha. The border only needs to retain conventional defense forces, and the first time the enemy is discovered, it can get strong support from the village. The 4 kingdoms undoubtedly knew this very well. They were busy licking their wounds, at most carrying out some routine intelligence activities in order to rule the surrounding small countries. For a moment, the border of the Land of Fire seemed to be a forbidden area for the four kingdoms. Half of the ninjas in the four countries died in the battle on the border of the Land of Fire, enough to beat even the most arrogant opponents to their senses. So, in this harvest autumn, Muiyin village ushered in a long-lost celebration. In the Third Ninja World War, Konoha can be said to be a hero. Konoha Whitefang and Konoha Sunin, who were already famous in the last war, and their disciples, Great Master Mito Mongo, Yellow Flash Namikaze Minato, thousands of Mori rope trees. With the addition of Uchiha Fugaku, the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, there is no doubt that among the backbone of Konoha, there are 8 people with cage-level strength that have never been seen before. Excluding Konoha Hakuga Heitake Sakumo, who has given up his right to be a Hokage candidate, there are 7 people who are eligible to compete for the next Hokage. The reason why the people of Konoha think so is precisely because the third Hokage Hiruzaru Sarutobi has clearly stated at the ceremony welcoming the return of the hero. The future of the village is the future of young people. In this tragic war, it was the outstanding performance of several young leaders that won Konoha an overall victory in the war. Therefore, in the name of the third generation of Hokage, I announce that the election ceremony of the Hokage candidates will be held on a certain date. Since the establishment of Konoha Hidden Village, there has never been such a special status as Hokage candidate. Perhaps in a practical sense, this is the relationship between Senshou Fijian and Senshou Zujian, but this has never appeared in the official ranking. Otherwise, if Sarutobi Hiruzen of the third Hokage could become a Hokage alternate first, and the second Hokage Senjujimama assisted in the early transition of various affairs, there would be no problems later on. Therefore, when Konoha ended the Third Ninja World War with an absolute victory, the third Naruto Sarutobi Hiruza, the high-level consultant Mitaman Yan, and the sleeping Koharu thought of this. If Danzang is still there, he will definitely not agree to this matter. Because he wanted to become Hokage himself. But now, he is gone. His name was engraved on the memorial tablet with the heroic attitude of died to the mission. As in the original timeline, Heitake Sakumo. The new position of Hokage alternate, if there is no accident, is the candidate who can stabilize the situation in the village at the first time when the current Hokage abdicates or dies in battle, and will succeed the new Hokage without dispute. Moreover, the Hokage candidates were not appointed by the second Hokage Senjutobima like when the third Hokage Hiruzaru Sarutobi succeeded to the throne. This is a high-level village, including the current Hokage advisors and Jonin representatives, who select Jonin who meet the conditions in terms of strength, ability, merit, and will of fire, and are elected by a referendum, and finally report to the country of fire. Big Name Review. Any adult in Konoha Hidden Village is eligible to vote, whether it is a ninja or a commoner. Every candidate's achievements, life stories, and other publicly available information will be announced to everyone in the village. This matter is regarded as another pioneering work led by Muiyin Village after the one country, one village system. Hokage elected by the people has never been seen before. So, old man, how did you come up with this idea? Enlightenment sighed helplessly in the face of his old father, Mitaman Yan, who came to tell him what to say. I always feel that there must be a conspiracy for you to be so generous and delegate the power to elect Hokage to everyone in the village. What nonsense are you talking about? Mito Minyan quietly wiped his sweat, and reprimanded him sternly. Only those who can be recognized by everyone can become Hokage, didn't you say this before? That's what Minato said, I'm just repeating. Humph. Anyway, that's it. The election result cannot be changed. This is the will of the whole village. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 286. Chapter 286 The So-Called Conspiracy. Satoru was already very sure that the so-called Hokage candidate election was a conspiracy. A high-level plot against him. He had no idea of the position of Hokage at all, and he told his father before the war ended. At that time, the old man was pissed off. From Mitamonion's point of view, there is no need to publicize Wu's achievements. As long as he is not blind, most people in Konoha village know what role Wu has played in the war. The current enlightenment has a huge fan base in Konoha. Although he may not know it himself, in fact, in terms of getting everyone's approval, no one has done better than Wu. Even in the eyes of the higher UPS, there is no one better suited to succeed Hokage than Satoru. Even Orochimaru, which Sarutobi Hiruzen originally liked, would not work. But this bastard kid says he's not interested in this at all. Not to mention, Yan has been holding back his anger. Juzine and Xiangshizu had approached him in private, complaining that Wu had explicitly rejected no Naiu's pursuit on the battlefield. It's fine if you're not interested in women. After all, in order not to drag down the family, it's common for ninjas to stay single for the rest of their lives. And as he grows older, maybe this kid will change his mind someday. But I'm not interested in Naruto either. This is not his problem alone. Long before the ceremony to welcome the hero's triumph. This is the loss of the village. Mitamonian patted the table with a slap, making Hiruzuru Sarutobi and Koharu couldn't help but nod. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's office, 3 old comrades in arms were working on the plan for the Hokage candidate election. When it came to Satoru's question, Yan couldn't help but get angry again. This kid doesn't want to be Hokage, what he said will affect his research, it's just nonsense. Stroking his beard, Hiruzuru Sarutobi couldn't help thinking of the mountain-like affairs he usually dealt with, and couldn't help muttering. It's not unreasonable to say that. Mitam an inflammatory knot. Where are you standing? Ahem, well, with Wu's strength and ability, he is perfect for being Hokage, but what I value more is his precise vision and overall situation, and even his unique way of thinking. Hiruzuru Sarutobi coughed lightly to cover up his embarrassment, but then felt helpless. But, we came up with this method to force him to take over as Hokage, he won't just drop the pick. Humph, I can't understand this very well. Unless he refuses to obey, as long as he agrees, he will definitely do his best. There was a flash of light in Mitamonian's eyes. His sense of responsibility is heavier than anyone else, and his feelings for the village are consistent. If he always pursues power, he only needs to keep a low profile. Even I can't say anything. He has done so much for the village, if he doesn't do Hokage, everyone will think that our high-level people are shady. That's true, but think about it from another angle. Xiao Chun, who had been silent all this time, couldn't help but say. What is Satoru's reason? Instead of being Hokage, he can play a greater role in the village, don't you have any ideas about this? Mitamonian finally restrained his anger. It's not that he hasn't thought about this issue carefully. He meant that he could have more time and energy to engage in higher research, this statement is correct. But as Hokage, he has the authority to all the secret and forbidden arts in the village, and can display his own ideals. This is definitely what he needs. He didn't hide it. Indeed, the shadows of the various hidden villages will affect their own cultivation to some extent in order to deal with the affairs of the villages, but overall the problem is not very obvious. Hiruzuru Sarutobi nodded, he undoubtedly had the most say in this matter. Moreover, in terms of the resources and information Ying can mobilize, it will even be of great help to his research. So, that's not really the problem here. Under the watchful eyes of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Tenzu Koharu, Mitamonian heaved a long sigh, took off his glasses a little decadently, and put his hands on his forehead. Yan, you. Jean, Xiao Chun, I'm afraid. Afraid. The talent shown by Yu Wu, what he has always done, and his determination to express feelings. Mitamonian slowly raised his head, a trace of confusion flashed in his eyes. I'm afraid that Wu will leave me in the near future just like his mother. What? Hirozuru Sarutobi and Koharu's Wanju looked at Mightyman Yan in shock. This statement was something they had never considered. What does it mean? Enlightenment is my son, I know very well. Mightyman is lost in memories. Since he was a child, he has been a child with his own opinions. I even feel that, many times, I am getting along with an adult, but this does not affect the relationship between our father and son. Looking back at what Satoru has done, even at a very young age, he had his own life plan. Although he never said it, his goal is definitely not just the height of shadow. He does his best to his friends and fulfills his duties to the village, from our generation, to Sakumo, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Tsunade's generation, to his own generation of young people. The backbone of the three generations, he has a deep bond. He even played an important role in the affairs of the Uchiha clan. Hiruzen, you also know that even the Uchiha clan has a very friendly attitude towards Satoru. This is simply unimaginable in the past. Suddenly clenching his fists, Mightyman flashed a panic in his eyes. But this time, the feeling Wu gave me has changed. He gave me the feeling that his wings are getting fuller, the general trend is getting bigger, and he is about to soar into the sky, looking down on all the opponents of his time. Especially after he expressed his lack of interest in Hokage and rejected Nanoyu, how he made me feel. More like preparing for a long journey. And the first step in this preparation is to avoid deepening your own fetters. The next step may be to gradually live in seclusion, disappear, and gradually disappear from people's sight. This is definitely what he does best. Hirozuru Sarutobi gradually opened his mouth wide. Yan, you mean? That's right, he may break through the mysteries of the world in the end, leave an astonishing gift for the village, and maybe disappear directly. It's okay to be a legend, but not to be Hokage. Mightyman Yan looked at the shocked Sarutobi Hiruzen and Tanzu Koharu, and firmly grasped his heart. With Wu's talent, I firmly believe that he can reach that height, and it won't take long. Me, his friends, the village, and even the ninja world, maybe it will be his bondage in the end. It's just that he is too emotional, that's why he chooses to use this method to show it slowly, trying not to hurt all the people who love him and the people he loves. It might be a strange feeling, but, I just feel like it could happen. After a long time, when the two comrades still couldn't believe it, Mito Minyan finally calmed down. He showed a somewhat difficult smile. So, I want him to be the Hokage, and there is another reason. Let him have a deeper bond with us and the village. Even if you can't stop him from leaving, you can still slow down his footsteps. Even if it's an old father, selfish and willful thoughts. Hee, Yan, I didn't expect you, who are fair and strict, to become so emotional. With a wry smile, Koharu turned to sleep and looked at Hirozuru Sarutobi. How? Perhaps this is the so-called knowing son is better than father. Hirozuru Sarutobi smoked his pipe, and the office was filled with smoke. This matter, I agree. Thanks. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 287. Chapter 287 Sherry Non-Research Plan. The Hokage alternate project planned by Konoha's senior management went smoothly. The settlement of war meritorious deeds has already been completed before winter arrives. In addition to Uchiha Fugaku, no accident, the selected candidates are Konoha Sunin Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Tsunade, Great Master Mito Mongo, Yellow Flash Namikaze Minato, thousands of Mori rope trees. The performance of the Uchiha clan is seen by the top management, but because of the hidden strength, Uchiha Fugaku is not considered by everyone, and he can compete with the above 6 candidates. Although he can also single-handedly drag the 4th Kaze cage. When the Uchiha clan saw that their patriarch was underestimated, they were naturally excited, but they were suppressed by the well-known Uchiha Fugaku. During this time, Wu and he didn't pay much attention to this matter. Because they are conducting a research project related to the fate of the Uchiha clan. Uncover the secrets of the cursed Sharingan. Wu once told Uchiha Fugaku his views on Sharingan, and now that the war is over, Uchiha Fugaku naturally couldn't hold back, and went to Wuzi again. And Satoru did not refuse. On the contrary, it was something he had always expected. Because Sharingan, as the purest Yin-Dun blood inheritance boundary in Yin-Yang Dun, corresponds to the Yang-Dun vitality contained in the cells in the pillars, it is likely to be able to help him to truly get in touch with the authority. Research projects are conducted in secret. The subject of the study is the Uchiha tribe with the strongest potential in the younger generation. Obito Uchiha, who has not yet opened his eyes, and Shisui Uchiha, who has opened Sangoyu. Uchiha Fugaku, as the head of the Uchiha clan, naturally took care of the whereabouts of the two of them. They all declared to the outside world that because of their outstanding performance in the war and their great potential, they were summoned by him personally for close training. Although everyone expressed doubts about the so-called huge potential of Uchiha Obito, who did not open his eyes, but Obito's combat effectiveness, even without Sharingan, is considered the best among Chunin. So although everyone was puzzled, they didn't take it to heart. Obito is favored by Mother Uzumaki Kushina, and is also taken care of by Patriarch's wife Mikoto Uchiha. Isn't it normal to participate in a closed training? Teacher Wu, can this research, can really help me open Sharingan? In Satoru's private space, Obito shouted angrily. Shisui is so much younger than me, and he has opened Sangoyu. I am ashamed to call myself Uchiha when I go out now. Brother Obito, if I didn't have those things, I would rather not open Sharingan, let alone Sangoyu. Shisui is young and has a lot of emotions. On the contrary, I envy you for not having to go through so much pain. Pain? I'm not afraid. Teacher Wu, just come here. Needless to say it as if you are explaining the funeral. Satoru looked at Obito's generous expression on his face, and waved his hands awkwardly. It's not a fatal research. With my current methods, you won't even feel much discomfort. Don't worry. In fact, according to Wu's original idea, Fuyu just asked a few confidants to cooperate with the research. However, Uchiha Fugaku seems to have seen through the plan behind the enlightenment. Anyway, there were only a few Uchiha people that Wu valued the most, and Itachi was still too young, so he brought the two older ones directly so that Wu could do his best. Then, let me see, Sharingan, what is the mystery of this method of eye-opening and evolution that can almost be called a curse? It's kid, don't forget, with my help, there are so many things you can do. A Luneth is not to be outdone. As an arcane entity longing for the power of the Titans, his interest in authority is no less than that of enlightenment. That's right, you are also considered an arcane entity. Don't you know anything about the origin of arcane art? Humph. These are two different things. If I can have the power of a Titan, will I still be sealed in a small staff? Okay, but at least, as an arcane entity with your own consciousness, you are much more sensitive to arcane power than I am. This is just the ordinary form of Sharingan. Above the Sangoyu, there is a stage called Kaleidoscopic Sharingan, which is already a stage that can turn virtual reality into reality. While making preparations, Satoru secretly communicated with aliens. Do you understand what this means? Of course, this is almost the threshold of authority. Yin Dun creates the body, Yang Dun gives life, and together they are the authority of Titan creation. This world is really interesting. It's so interesting, it's possible to separate authority and be controlled by mere human beings in this way. That's why I said, there are still many mysteries in the ninja world. Let's get started. I can't wait. When the Hokage waiting list came out, Satoru still couldn't find anyone. He is immersed in the research of the principle of sharing eyes to open eyes and can't extricate himself. Does the Hokage candidate election have anything to do with him? The Uchiha clan has a lot of opinions on their patriarch not being selected. But Uchiha Fugaku himself didn't care. Mightyman Yan became more and more sure of his conjecture, and after discussing with Sarutobi Hiruzen and Tenzuko Haru, he directly passed Satoru, announced the list, and directly started the general election. After 10 days of elections, without exception, Wu won the most votes, leaving the other 5 far behind with a crushing advantage. Tisk tisk, really, although I have no interest in this matter now, I still feel a little bit unwilling to see such a big gap. In front of the big screen where the ballots are displayed, the 5 candidates looked at the number of votes with different expressions. Orochimaru licked his lips. After the war, Satoru gave him Grandmaster level enchantment, and Hokage had long been looked down upon by him. Ha ha ha. Orochimaru, you were originally the most favored among the 3 of us. The feeling of being caught up by your disciples is very subtle. Jiraiya laughed and patted Orochimaru on the shoulder. Fortunately, I didn't have this plan in the first place. Humph, isn't it because you were caught up by your disciples? Although it's not that exaggerated. Tsunade's complaint made Jiraiya look weird. Although the number of votes for his disciple Namikaze Minato is far lower than that of Wu, it is still the highest among others. Haha, sister, I knew it would be like this, so I said a long time ago, give up this opportunity. Nakoki spread his hands helplessly, although he wanted to become Hokage very much, but he also understood that it would be difficult for him to beat even Namikaze Minato. Brother Nesuke, you can't say that. Remember what the 3rd generation said. Minato smiled wryly and scratched his head. Lilan's memory had been sealed, and he didn't have the slightest awareness to be ahead of others. We are all accomplices. Nezuki just smiled wryly, but Tsunade clenched his fists, his face full of displeasure. The high-level executives actually came up with such a joke-like method, if it is broken, huh. Thinking of her lover Kato Dan, she just felt that this accompanying behavior made the position of Hokage, which she never forgot, seem to be cheap. So, where is this guy Wu? Jiraiya asked Orochimaru in a low voice. You are his teacher. Based on your understanding of Wu, do you think it is useful for us to do this? There is a high probability that it will be useless. There was a see-through smile on Orochimaru's face. If it's useful, he's not that enlightened. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 288. Chapter 288 I really don't want to be Hokage. Satoru was finally reminded by Uchiha Fugaku. If he doesn't go out again, the 3rd Hokage will order him wanted. It looks like I just got some eyebrows. Satoru looked at Uchiha Fugaku's hesitation in surprise. What's the matter? It's about the Hokage candidate election? I didn't even show up, so they've already finished the election. It doesn't seem to be that simple. Uchiha Fugaku smiled wryly and shook his head. What should I say about this? You'll know when you go out and have a look. The corner of Satoshi's mouth twitched, seeing Uchiha Fugaku's appearance, the situation outside. It doesn't seem very reliable. Okay, I'll leave first, and you take the 2 of them back first. The data collected in the early stage is almost complete, and rigorous theoretical analysis is required later. Enlightenment waved his staff and fell into the illusion of arcane magic. The 2 boys who were lying on the test bench and sleeping soundly opened their eyes in a daze. Huh? Is this the end? Obito yawned big, stretched his waist, and looked at Shisui rubbing his eyes unexpectedly. I thought I was going to dig out my eyes for research. Shisui was startled, his little face turned pale, and the movement of rubbing his eyes changed to touching his eyes, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. How do you know I didn't dig it and put it back? Satoru sneered strangely, making the faces of Obito and Shisui turn pale again. It is no secret to them that the sharing eyes of the Uchiha clan can be hot-swapped. In the previous data collection, although Wu did not pick his eyes, he also mentioned this matter, and the two of them also got the exact answer from Uchiha Fugaku. Satoru was joking with you. Uchiha Fugaku's face was a bit unnatural. He thought of those Sharingan stolen in the war, but he quickly adjusted. You two, go out with me first, wait for Wu to finish his affairs, remember to keep it secret. Yes, Patriarch. Obito and Shisui heaved a sigh of relief. Wu hummed a few times triumphantly, and then waved his staff to take them out of the private space. Then we shall take our leave. As soon as he came out, Uchiha Fugaku jumped out of the window with Obito and Shisui in a hurry, as if he was hiding from someone. Wuhan was surprised, and heard a loud roar. Ha ha ha! Wu! You finally came out? Enlightenment covered his face. The voice was definitely Naoki's. The door downstairs was knocked loudly. Wu had no choice but to open the door. Outside the door was a helpless water gate and an excited rope tree. It's not in vain that I have my senses turned on all day long. With the cooperation of Minato's Phalician, I will block you as soon as you appear. Satoru looked at them blankly. Ah! Don't be dazed. Come here, if you don't show up, the election will be messed up. Shengshu stretched out his hand to grab Satoru's arm and dragged it out. Minato, hurry up. Senior brother Wu, I offended you. Shua. The three disappeared in place. At the election venue, the ninjas and civilians who came to watch still did not disperse. Even 2 days after the election results came out, Wu still didn't show up, but they couldn't stop their enthusiasm. Although it was far away from the election site, the atmosphere was immediately detonated when Dang Wu's figure appeared at the scene along with Shengshu and Minato. Master Wu. It's Master Wu who is here. Wow. Master Wu is so handsome. Finally, the wait was not in vain. That guy Satoru finally appeared, but he seemed reluctant. Zoding, there is definitely a problem here. Well, Luju, don't think too much, the higher UPS will still make you realize it. Let's talk about Naruto's alternate, who else is there? I always feel that something is wrong. The lively cheers made Wu look confused. Haven't you finished the election? When he saw the huge voting board, his face darkened immediately. I'm hiding, what are you doing? Well, what everyone expects. Ji Lai also leaned over, and Xiangwu winked. Just follow it. Satoru grinned, glanced at Orochimaru who was reading a book seriously. Well, Grandmaster Magic. Sure enough, the teacher understands me. Look at how Tsunade gritted his teeth and sighed while watching himself. There is also Minato with a face of it's none of my business and Nawaki who persuades himself with Jiraiya. I didn't agree at all, so they released my name. Nonsense, if you don't let your name out, the whole village will say that the higher UPS are shady. Tsunade finally calmed down and came over to give Sato a punch. The few of us are running with you, and it's all for you. But I'm really not interested in Hokage. Wu smiled so bitterly that he couldn't laugh anymore. I've said it a long time ago, I'm afraid it will be troublesome. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility, brother Wu. Minato also stepped forward. Besides, this is just a Hokage candidate, and it's not that you are directly being Hokage. TCH, Minato, don't you know that your face turns red when you tell a lie? Satoru looked at the reddish Minato with contempt. Don't you know that if I dare to become this Hokage candidate, the 3-generation-old man dares to directly announce the time of abdication? Enough, Wu. Mito Minion finally couldn't help but walked off the rostrum and appeared at the election site. Is that why you don't want to be this Hokage? Father, I knew that this must be a trap. Wu shrugged helplessly, seeing his father approaching. The others stepped aside tacitly. He still didn't understand, they had all discussed it. 3 generations of old men knew how to smoke on it, and the sleep transfer consultant just laughed. This, I have already explained it. Mitomonon took a deep breath, approached Satoru, and said slowly in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Danzo, did you do it? Wu was startled secretly, but the powerful mental power controlled him and he didn't show it at all. Danzo. What are you talking about, Dad? He's been dead for so long. So, it really is you. Mitomon snorted softly. When you lie, your eyes will habitually float upwards, don't you know? He seemed to have said that just now. After Danzo's death, I was in charge of the route. For such a long time, do you think I will really not investigate the death of the village's high-level people? Mitomon raised 3 fingers. According to the signs and rules of Akatsuki's activities, it can be judged that Hanzo and Danzo disappeared almost at the same time. They cooperated and fought among themselves and died together? How likely is this? You have old grievances with Danzo, you have a special relationship with Akatsuki, you have Flying Thunder God and a portal, you have a mirror image that is hard to distinguish between true and false, you have the strength to suppress Onaki, and you have a special arcane crystal that can summon you to the past. A stern look flashed across his eyes, and Mitomonon was silent for a moment. And he still has a motive to die, but I didn't fully confirm it until just now. He deserves to die. But his death is indeed a loss to the village, you have to take responsibility. Gaku covered his face. Dad even threatened him with Danzang's death. Okay, Dad, you are still old. After realizing the helplessness, he also seemed to understand his father's thoughts. Because there was no accusation on his face, but a hint of pleading. A smile gradually spread on Wu-Wu's face. Mitomon inflammation feels a little bad. Satoru turned around and glanced at Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was quietly looking at this side, then turned to his 5 competitors and said loudly. In the ninja world, everyone knows that if you are strong enough, you can be willful sometimes. The 5 opened their mouths wide, and saw Wu stretch out his hand, and the dazzling alens appeared in his palm. You all want me to be Hokage, but I don't, so. Come on, the 5 of you go together, if you can defeat me, I will be a Hokage candidate. If not, there are still experiments waiting for me in my laboratory. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 289. Chapter 289 Help me. Enlightenment's words made the scene instantly silent. Not only Mitomon Yan, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Minato, Nawaka, but the audience who were far away also opened their mouths. This is a little different from what I imagined. Leaving aside the fact that Master Wu said that he didn't want to be Hokage. When did you not want to be Hokage and beat all the competitors? Or 1v5? Am I crazy, or is the world crazy? I understand this bastard. Sarutobi Hiruzen covered his face weakly. I am most afraid of playing hooligans even if I have the strength. Who can bear this? How do you say that? All conspiracies and tricks are nothing to worry about in the face of absolute strength. The question is now, how do their positive characters look like villains? Hiruzen Sarutobi moved his body uncomfortably. This Hokage, is it so unpopular? Damn you, how did you learn the will of fire? I am so embarrassed, old man. The bed-turning Xiaochun next to him shook his head, but he could only let out a wry smile. Wu, this child, really, since he was a child, he hasn't changed at all. Maybe we wanted to use power to restrain him, but it was wrong from the beginning. Well, even so, he is too arrogant. Hiruzen Sarutobi smoked his pipe fiercely, very dissatisfied. Even I am definitely not the opponent of those 5 people. No, in other words, I may not last an hour under their joint attack. He can't save face, is he convincing himself in this way? No. Hey, this kid is so thoughtful, it's hard for me, Hokage, to force him. So, Wu, are you serious? Mightyman N is by Satoru's side, he won't take chances like Sarutobi Hiruzen. He could tell that Wu was talking about his true thoughts. In other words, he really has this grasp. Father, you all have good intentions, but there is really no need to do this. Wu softly comforted the old man who seemed to have lost a lot in an instant. Don't worry, I won't leave in 20 years. So you really will go anyway? Maybe the situation will change by then. Who can say what will happen in the future? Wu shook his staff, and Ailans was babbling again, but he didn't want to hear it for the time being. There are still many questions and many secrets in the ninja world. I am very interested. But you don't have to be like this. Mightyman's complexion instantly improved, but then he said anxiously. 1-5, are you crazy? Well, this is also a good opportunity to resolve my position after the next Hokage takes office. Wu clenched his staff tightly and stepped forward. After all, the Land of Fire still has a name, and the other 4 kingdoms are not without yin and yang. And strength is the most effective way to make everyone speechless. On the opposite side, the 5 people have been silent for a while. Wu, are you serious? As Wu's teacher, Orochimaru was the first to stand up consciously. There was no anger of being scorned in his golden vertical pupils, but he looked up and down Wu with interest. Are you that sure? Well, if you don't want to do something you don't like, you have to rely on something. Besides, since you guys want to help me, it's too cheap to come out and stand on the street. Satoru spread out his hands, and looked at Jiraiya, Tsunade, Minato, and Nawaki, who all smiled wryly. I am a person who doesn't like to be restrained. In wartime, I am duty-bound, but in peacetime, I want to do something that I want to do. As my teacher and friend, are you willing to help me? Ha ha ha. Wu, good boy, I admire you very much. Jiraiya ignored Mightyman's sharp eyes, and laughed with his hips akimbo. Live as you want, this is the life I also yearn for, so I have no interest in Hokage at all. But since you want to prove yourself, I will accompany you. Thank you, Teacher Jiraiya, I will appreciate your novel. Enlightenment, you are indeed a scholar, not a ninja. Orochimaru chuckled, put away the Grandmaster level enchanted magic in his hand, and his whole body was full of momentum. Seeing your appearance, I have no interest in Hokage at all. In fact, we are the same kind of people from the beginning, don't you think? Or Ashimaru teacher, you understand me. Boy Wu, you have grown to this point. Tsunade turned his head to look at Nadoki, who was scratching his head in a bewildered face, then looked at Satoru, and sighed. Well, I was almost always engaged in logistics during the war, let me see your strength. You won't be disappointed, Tsunade-sensei. Hey, Enlightenment, thinking of fighting with you, I remembered the days when I was beaten up by you in the ninja school. Shengshu couldn't help shivering, and quickly shook his head to shake off the unbearable pest. However, although most of my power comes from your gift, since you want to prove yourself, I will not show mercy. Of course, if you don't go all out, I will beat you alone later. Senior brother Wu, use the moves you pointed out to deal with you, I really. Minato's face was almost wrinkled, but for Wu, he was not sure at all. Well, Minato, you're not alone. Satoru let out a sigh of relief, nodded to the 5 people, and turned to Sarutobi Hiruzen on the rostrum. 3 generations, forgive Mito Mongo for not being able to take on this important task. I believe you understand why this gambling fight is. This is my personal decision, if anyone has questions, just let them come to me. Okay, Gaku boy, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, and waved his hands with a smile. You can do whatever you want, I'm old, we're all old, for young people, you young people make up their own minds. As for the pressure from the daimyo, I will block it, as long as you are still a member of Konoha, that's enough. Naturally, this is also for Konoha. Satoru bowed to Hirozuru Sarutobi, and finally turned to the spectators who were looking at him in bewilderment. Among them, there are their own childhood, contemporaries, comrades in arms, subordinates, and even neighbors, as well as people they seem to have never met. They want a powerful Hokage to protect Konoha Hidden Village and lead them to fight, just like winning this war. And, the countless challenges that may lie ahead. But, I've never been a ninja or something, how can I become the leader of a ninja? Shadow's identity is just a shackle to me, and I have to look at the overall situation, to broaden my horizons. Are you ready? Right here? How can it be? A huge teleportation circle appeared at the foot of Satoru, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Minato, and Nobunaga. Satoru nodded to Mightyman Yan, Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Rejuvenation Koharu, and finally glanced at the crowd. Aliens tapped the ground gently. Shua. The figures of the 6 people disappeared in place. Mito's face twitched, he sighed, and returned to the rostrum. Rijan, I can't do anything about the next question. Don't try to throw your hands away. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 290. Chapter 291 vs 5. What Satoru brought them to was an uninhabited coast on the southern coast of the Kingdom of Fire. There are lush forests, boundless seas, and broad coastlines. Here, the 5 nature changes of chakra can give full play to their power. The 6 strongest members of the 2 generations of Mueyin village are arranged on both sides. Great Master Mito Mongo, alone, facing 5 of his teachers and close friends. My child, your courage makes me admire you. When you make food for them, I also think you are too wasteful of energy. Now is what a qualified archmage should look like. The splendor of a Lunetha's spaceship-like staff, with its flickering arcane radiance, was too interested in the upcoming battle. Let's clean them up together. Don't underestimate them. I know that your strength has recovered a lot, but you still have to be careful when dealing with them. This is almost equivalent to dealing with 5 shadows. Humph. Of course, don't forget that I have experienced more than 100 battles. Ignoring Alan's nagging, Wu smiled and looked at the 5 people with different expressions in front of him, covered with a layer of jumping arcane sparks. So, shall we begin? Very good, Wu, we won't show mercy. Orochimaru withdrew the smile on his face, and for the first time he went all out to fight his disciples. It turned out to be such a situation, which made him never expect it. Looking up and opening his mouth, Orochimaru stretched out his hand and pulled out a long sword wrapped in fine whirlpools from his mouth. He inserted the long sword into the ground and folded his hands together. Fairy mode. The purple eye shadows in the corners of the eyes elongated, widened, and connected upwards into a line. The vertical golden pupils of both eyes shone with icy light, the head had double horns, and the long black hair was windless and automatic. A layer of purple transparent chakra is wrapped around the outside of his body. He is dressed in a moon-white robe, and his clothes are flying, with 8 chakra snake heads dancing wantonly on his shoulders. This is Orochimaru's perfect sage mode tailor-made for himself with magic. It carries the sage chakra that will have a huge impact on the body in the form of external armor, and creates a powerful defense. Snake Fairy Armor. Pulling out the enchanted grass pheasant sword on the ground, Orochimaru pointed the sword at Satoru, and the chaotic wind vortex on the sword dispersed the surrounding thin mist. This is a new understanding of Grandmaster enchanting magic, teacher. This time, I'm going to do it for real. The debut of Orochimaru shocked everyone. He hadn't perfected this move just after the war. Enchantment Sky Cover Array. Not to be outdone, Jiraiya put his palms together and launched a huge sensory circle covering several kilometers, which was bigger than any one he had ever shown. Fairy Mode. Eye shadows that are only limited to the corners of the eyes, golden eyes, horizontal pupils, 0 frogs. Jiraiya is different from Orochimaru, relying on the improved version of the meditation method of the Wu secret, and using the separation of movement and static method to achieve the perfect fairy mode. Drink. A head of snow-white long hair exploded like needle pricks. Jiraiya stretched his hands forward, and the chakra flowed in his palm. Minato, I'm not welcome, sir. Wio. Two bright chakra spheres appeared in his palms, which were developed by Namikaze Minato with reference to the nine-tailed beast jade. Screw pill. TCH, using my disciple's move as a signboard, it's really. Before Minato could smile wryly, Tsunade snorted coldly, took a step forward, a burst of powerful momentum exploded, and the ground was broken by her foot. See if you have the ability to let me perform Baihao's technique. My sister's strange power is really convenient, and there is no need to prepend it. Shenshu spread out his hands, and then formed seals with his hands, his eyes serious. Then I can't fall behind. Fairy mode. Perhaps because of the bloodline, it is infinitely easier for Naoki to master the perfect sage mode than Jiraiya and Orochimaru. The circular lines on the forehead, the striped lines on the lower eyelids and the corners of the eyes, are like the celestial beings of the first Hokage Senjujima. Shengshu didn't stop, but took out a small scroll, Wu's eyes narrowed slightly. Psychic art. A huge door panel double-edged giant sword appeared in Shengshu's hands. The Qianshao clan really has a solid foundation, all the great swords in the Qianshao Zhujian have been taken out. This is the ninja tool that my grandfather used to use in the early years, so I used it. Shengshu grinned and rubbed his nose, chakra surged in both hands, and a layer of chakra radiance surged on the double-edged giant sword. In front of Brother Wu, ordinary ninjutsu has limited effect. Fortunately, I have also learned a little fairy art, although I am not very good at it. Minato shook his head lightly, but without moving, eye shadows emerged. The same golden eyes as Jiraiya, horizontal pupils, zero frog transformation. Without any plug-in assistance, Namikaze Minato has achieved the perfect immortal mode in seconds. Papa. Minato's figure flashed, and a line of small characters appeared on Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Nawaki. The Sword of Tolerance. With hands folded, 8 flying thunder god Konoha instantly appeared in Minato's hands. Ready. Up. Enlightenment watched in admiration at the 5 people opposite without any communication, and they attacked together tacitly. Sword of Kusanagi, Sword of the Sky. Orochimaru Yin fluttered, and the long sword in his right hand was released, but it did not fall to the ground, but flew up like a swordsmanship, stabbing at Wu at a very high speed. Tisk, that's really ruthless. Enlightenment's physical reaction speed, after so many years of strengthening the body tempering technique, is no less than that of a ninja like Ade who specializes in physical technique. Without using the flashing technique, Wu lightly dodged, and the grass pheasant sword passed through his body like a crossbow, blasting the ground into a big hole. Immortal Law Super Big Jade Spiral Pill. Jiraiya rushed over dragging a super large spiral pill, and with a wave of enlightenment staff, a portal appeared in front of the astonished Jiraiya. He dragged the spiral pill and rushed into the portal. Ah! Naoki, who was performing Mudun in the seal to bind Satoru, felt a chill. Immortal method, would escape, ranking technique. The huge fangs grimacing shield protected the back of the tree, and Jiraiya, who rushed out of the portal, pressed the spiral pill on the shield. Boom! A violent explosion swayed in the confrontation between the two immortal arts, although it was not their will. Shua. A petite fist appeared at Wu's side, hitting lightly. Wu grinned, but he didn't dare to accept Tsunade's fist. Flash. Wu's figure disappeared, but when he reappeared, he was surprised to see Minato appear beside him. Senior Brother Wu, the flashing technique is aimed straight ahead, right? Good. 3 spinning arcane balls bounced off Minato's flying thunder god Konoha, and Wu immediately grabbed it with his left hand. Slow down. Minato, who had just appeared in Konoha's position with Flying Thunder God's second stage, was bound by a mass of stagnant energy and had to disappear in place again. But, I touched you, Brother Wu. An early warning came from the eyes of the mage, and the 5 people within the combat range were all forming seals at the same time. Tisk, don't worry. Aluneth erupted with arcane brilliance, and released a powerful instant spell. The group is silent. The 5 of them raised their hands uncontrollably, tilted their heads, and looked confused. The principle of the silence technique is quite interesting to say. The most basic version is to press the caster's mouth tightly with a ball of arcane power, so that he cannot read the spell. However, this kind of operation is of no use to ninjas. They can also perform spells without calling out the name of the move. Of course, it doesn't work for many mages. They may still cast spells silently, or use gestures to cast spells. Therefore, the advanced version of the silence technique can prevent the opponent from casting spells in all directions. Cover your mouth, jam your hands, cooperate with the mental shock to disrupt the flow of mana, and the archmage can't cast spells. Puff. It was the first time Satoru used group silence of this scale, and it was the enhanced version by Aluneth, and he almost broke his defense without laughing. Boom. The powerful celestial chakra erupted, and the 4 immortals broke free immediately. To deal with Satoru's arcane control, ordinary chakra is at a disadvantage, and only Zyonsha chakra can fight. And the bonus of Zyonjutsu is not only ninjutsu. Powerful waves came, the long-range body art frog slap jointly launched by Jiraiya and Minato's master and apprentice, and the long-range slash jointly launched by Orochimaru and Nawaka's master and apprentice have arrived. Boom. This time it was not an ice wall, a huge iceberg stood in front of Wu Wu, and was smashed to pieces by a powerful joint attack. Even so, facing the joint attack of the 4 immortals, Bingshan only bought a little time, and as the iceberg turned into flying ice, a huge threat suddenly appeared. Tisk, I can't stop it. The petite fist has already been pasted with Satoshi's protective magic ball, and Tsunade's figure transformed into an ice cube appears, with a flash of pride on his face. Look at the fist. Ah poof. With a merciless punch, Wu's prismatic body shield burst, and then hit him hard in the chest. Boom. This solid punch directly hit Wu so bloody that he flew back. While Tsunade was secretly startled by the strong shock to his fist, he was also full of confidence in his punch. Anyway, as long as you don't kill me, I will be saved. But in the next moment, Tsunade, who was waiting to pursue her, found that she seemed to be stuck in a quagmire, and the powerful restraints around her were firmly suppressing her. Slow down. And what made Tsunade's face even more incredible was the staggering figure of Wu. Not a hair injured. Even the clothes are not messed up, there is absolutely no empty space just now. It's not a shadow clone. Is it a technique similar to Izanagi? And in the next moment, Wu's figure turned into a blood spurting. You bastard, you still use illusion. Satoru's camouflage was extremely fast, except for the nearest Tsunade. No one else noticed at all. Jiraiya's sky-covering magic circle, too. Tsunade's pupils shrank, ignoring the pressure around him. He struggled hard. Careful. However, seeing Wu's miserable appearance, the 4 immortals have launched an attack to cooperate with her. Immortal Law Inorganic Reincarnation. Orochimaru let out a shout, and waved his hands. Countless strange things like pythons rose from the ground, biting Xiang Wu fiercely. Immortal Method, Wooden Escape, and the Art of Bagging. Boom. Launched with the magic chakra, this elusive technique not only has limited ability, but also has powerful attack power. A large piece of wooden palm rushed out of the ground, cooperating with Orochimaru's inorganic reincarnation, and rushed towards Wu. Immortal Law, 1,000 hair needles. When it comes to long-range strikes, Zilei is naturally not to be outdone. The long white hair hardened and shot out, and countless hair needles blessed with Xianxia chakra poured down on Wu like a torrential rain. Shua. In the gap between the three great celestial arts, Minato's figure flashed away, and then appeared behind Wu. Immortal Law, Great Jade Spiral Pill. The huge spiral pill activated by the magic chakra, combined with 3 long-range magic, hit Wu together. Double restraint plus a coordinated attack from far and near, well done. Wu, who was covered in blood, smiled, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Blink. Where is the person? Isn't the landing point directly in front? Disappeared. What kind of technique is this? It was indeed the flashing technique, but after moving the position, Satoru connected the invisibility technique again. Unlike Satoru's magic, ninjutsu and even senjutsu don't have the effect of locking the target. Therefore, after Wu's figure disappeared, and everyone's immortal skills were in vain, he was completely unable to control the target of his own skills. The strong perception ability under the bonus of immortality can't perceive the position under the cover of Wu's invisibility. Be vigilant. Perception seems to be disturbed. Jiraiya's double perception of Tiange magic circle and immortal art seems to have some discoveries. On the broken ice scattered around, there is an aura of enlightenment. Subconsciously, the 4 immediately returned to Tsunade, who was still bound. If they were defeated one by one. However, just when they had just assembled, a bit of dazzling arcane light erupted from their sides. Magic explosion.